Good morning, everybody. We're going to wait for some people to show up, but I wanted to jump on here and just have a quick little conversation about spacers and using them in the Rincon press. This actually applies to any press, but I'm going to specifically talk about the Rincon press by Potter USA. So this cylinder, the ram in here, it only has a 2-inch stroke, which means that the absolute maximum that this ram can extend out of the cylinder is 2 inches. So there's all of this extra space. Now that space, sorry, my AC is gonna keep kicking in. So let me know if you can't hear me, but it's too hot to not have AC. Anyway, the ram will only extend 2 inches. That is the maximum stroke length of this press. So there is all of this extra space that has to be taken up. There's this much space so that we can accommodate our bracelet former and different accessories for the press. You need to have that extra room to utilize those tools. Excuse me. So what do? This at the maximum only extends up 2 inches. Whatever you're working on, you need to fill all of that extra space with spacers. So let me take this off real quick. So when you are looking at spacers, we sell aluminum spacers, 1 inch thick and 1/2 inch thick. You don't have to get them from us. You can go to like a local scrap yard or something and find aluminum spacers. You don't want to use steel because steel on steel is slick. Aluminum is a little bit softer, so it will hold on to the dies a little bit to make sure that nothing slips out. So you think about this. You have these 2 spacers here. If you're using a pancake die, you have to take up all that extra space with spacers. So if I was going to use a pancake die, you're going to want to make sure that you have enough space to insert the pancake die in your metal as well as a spacer on top. That's why I really like these 1/2 inch spacers that we have. And so you would put your die in here and then the spacer on top, and then this amount of space, you could even put in another 1/2 inch spacer in there if you wanted. You want to take up as much space as possible with these spacers. My rule of thumb is if you can put another spacer in, if you're going to have to move your press more than 1 inch or more than 1/2 inch, then you need to add another spacer. Essentially, you want to make sure that your ram only moves as much as it absolutely has to. So let me grab another spacer real quick. And so if you're just joining me, my AC is going to keep kicking on, off and on, and that's just how it has to be. So if you can't hear me, let me know. So I may be able to fit another 1 inch spacer in there. Let's see. So yeah, if I were to set my press up like this for a pancake die, I have 4 spacers plus a 1/2 inch spacer, and then you can barely see it, but there's a little bit of wiggle room. That's as far as my press is going to have to go. So it's going to, you want to take up as much space as possible with the spacers so that you do not overextend the ram. If you overextend the ram, you can damage it. You'll damage the cylinder, and you can have some issues with oil leaking. Let me just show you really quick the maximum stroke of this cylinder. So I'm using an electric. I'm gonna turn it on. It'll get loud for a second. But let me raise it. That's it. That is the absolute maximum that this ram in the cylinder will raise. Beyond that, you're getting no pressure, you're just damaging the cylinder. So all of this space, depending on what tooling you're using, you have to add spacers. You never should ever really raise your ram this much. If you can raise your ram 2 inches, you need to add more spacers. So let me lower that back down. And let's see. I'll kind of show you the setup for different impression dies. The number of spacers that you need is going to depend on what tooling you're using. So if, like I showed you before with the pancake dies, you're going to use a whole lot fewer or more spacers than you would if you're using the bracelet former. You just need to take up that space. So let's say I'm doing an impression die. Excuse me. An impression die. That, not going to do it. You still have about 4 or 5 inches. So kind of just keep in mind that you want to use as many spacers as you possibly can while still being able to use your tooling correctly. So again, we'll just pretend that this is the impression die. There's probably 2 inches there. So I'm going to go ahead and add a second spacer. And it looks like on top, between the urethane and the pusher, I won't fit another inch thick spacer, but I will fit a 1/2 inch spacer. So you can see that you want to make your, you want to raise the cylinder, or the lower platen with the ram as little as possible. It's going to make your cylinder last longer. It's going to make life easier. You're not going to damage your press or your cylinder. So what I keep for myself on hand, I keep 4 1-inch spacers, and yeah, well, I'll take this out. Whew, there we go. 4 1-inch spacers and a 1/2 inch spacer. This is what I keep on hand. And like I said, you don't have to get it from us. Do make sure that they're aluminum. Do not use steel spacers, because I don't know if you were here when I was watching, but steel on steel is slick. Whereas putting your steel die on the aluminum, the steel kind of bites into the aluminum a little bit and it holds everything in place. So it's a lot safer to use aluminum. You can go to your local metal shop, metal supplier, get offcuts. Sometimes they'll have them. We do sell both sizes. I believe that they are all this dimension now. But definitely use spacers. Don't overextend your ram. If you can, if there's enough space between what you're working on and the top surface, either, of the press or the pusher, if there's room for another spacer, you need to add another spacer. So my recommendation, make sure you have 4 of 1-inch spacers, 1 1/2 inch spacer. I like the 1/2 inch because it's a good one to put on the top of pancake dies, so that you can use the large 1-inch ones on top of pancake dies, but this is lighter, and so it's easier just to toss in there to fully cover the cutting surface of the pancake die. So I hope that helps. I know there was some discussion about spacers earlier, so I wanted to just jump on here and show you this is what you need. Make sure you use spacers. If you're using the bracelet former kit, I believe, I don't have it on me right now, but I believe you use the 1-inch spacer. Whatever tooling you're using, you do not want to have to raise the lower platen any more than an inch because you can always fit an extra spacer in there. So I hope that helps. Thanks for hanging out, and I will see you later. Bye.